my name is David Sisk, and I'm the Director of the English Learner Programs for Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. And in this short video, I'm going to explain to you how to create an L accommodation plan in the L component of ECATS. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is obviously log in to ECATS, which I showed you in a previous video. And once you log in, you're going to come to this main screen. And you're going to go up to the top of the main screen, own the blue bar, hover over students. I believe you may have to click there, and then click on the word students. Okay? And once you do that, that's going to bring you to this page where you can select students to view. Now, what you can do at this point is you can scroll down to the bottom of the screen to where it says View My Caseload. Because you have to have a child own your caseload before you can create an L accommodations plan. Let me repeat that. You have to have a child own your caseload before you can create an L accommodations plan. So assuming you have a child own your caseload that you need to work with to create a plan for, go ahead and click View My Caseload. And that takes you to this screen. This is your caseload. And so you can see the names of your students, their student ID numbers, and of course your name as the case manager. So you're going to select one of the students on that caseload. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to select a student. I click there. And then that brings me to this screen. This is the personal information of that child. You got the child's name, gender, ethnicity. A lot of information there will be populated. It'll have your name up here in this corner. But what you want to do on this screen is you want to go up to the blue bar that's a little bit lighter colored blue, and you want to click on the drop-down menu for English learners. And then at that point, you're going to get this drop-down box, and you'll see where it says L process, and you're going to click here for L process. And then it's going to take you to the L process. So you've got student information, identification, language goals, modifications, and so on. In a previous video, I showed you exactly which of the L process pieces we were going to work with. And the purpose of this video is to show you how to work with the testing participations and accommodations. So you're going to click here. And that's going to take you to the screen that says testing participations and accommodations. And up in the right-hand corner, of course, I have it covered up for security reasons. You're going to see the name of the child that you are working with. Now, there are 3 sections on this first page. You've got classroom testing, state testing, and then district testing. We are going to focus on the state testing aspect of this. So you can take a look at this child's current plan. And so this child has the English Language Arts, EOG for grades 3 through 8. However, this child also needs the math grades 3 through 8 EOG. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the right-hand corner of that block, and I'm going to click on Add State Tests. So once I click here, it takes me to a list of tests. Now, this is just a screenshot, but once you see this live, you will see a list of tests, and I scrolled all the way down to the bottom, and you can see here I have put a check mark where it says mathematics, grades 3 through 8, and then I need to go down to where it says the state test selected, and on the right-hand side, you can see another drop-down box. So this drop-down box is very important. And the reason the drop-down box is important is because you need to click there and choose that this child is participating with accommodations. So this is very important. Just make sure you go to the drop box at the bottom, click and choose participating with accommodations. Okay? And once you do that, we're going to click Save and Continue. And that's going to take you to this page where you can actually select those accommodations. And for this test, I'm going to select Test Read Aloud in English. So I'm going to click here to have a little checkbox. I'm going to click Save and Continue. And then once I do that, you can see I have mathematics grades 3 through 8. You've got participating with accommodations, and the accommodation is test read aloud in English, and it requires specifics. So I'm going to click here to edit that, and once I click here to edit that, you will see this screen where you can add custom accommodations, and in this case, I entered read aloud questions and answer choices. So this is just a place that you can put additional information if necessary. So if you need to add that information, this is where you add it on that screen. I go down to the bottom, click Save and Continue, and then that takes me back to the main page. Now, if you have any implementation specifics, any additional information that you need, you can click here, and then that will take you to this screen, and it will show you all of the tests where you can put additional information. So for this child, for multiple testing sessions, you can capture anything specific that child needs with the way that test session is implemented with this accommodation. So once you add that information, if necessary, this screen will not be necessary for every child, but if it is necessary, this is where you would enter that information. Go down to the bottom, click Save and Continue, and then that takes you back to the page where you can see all the accommodations, and you're going to click Save and Continue. And then once you get to this page, this is the Create Plan page. And you can actually reach this page either by clicking that Save and Continue button, or once you get back to the main page, you can click the English Learner drop down, and then you can scroll down to create a plan. But for the purposes of this video, the way I got to create a plan is I went through all the accommodations, added the accommodations, got to this screen, click Save and Continue, and then it took me to the Create Plan page. So on the Create Plan page, this is the top of that page, I am going to scroll down. So I've scrolled all the way down. I can look at the accommodations. Above the math accommodations here, you can see the ELA accommodations. These are the math accommodations for that child. You can see this child is participating with accommodations, and then it gives more detail about those accommodations. So you scroll all the way to the bottom. Once you arrive to the bottom of that Create Plan page, you're going to have specific dates that you are going to need to enter. So for the meeting date is when the L committee got together and had this discussion, and you could have had multiple discussions about multiple students on one particular date. That is fine, but you would just need to enter that information here. The date that the plan begins, which is the date when these accommodations are available to that student. Now this is very important, because if you create this plan and finalize it, and that date, like when you go back to actually do the review of accommodations, if the date that you are trying to print this plan, the review of accommodations, is before the plan begin date, the plan's ROA will not print. So just make sure that the plan begin date is early enough that it will capture the time when you're actually trying to print the review of accommodations plan. And then of course the plan end date, and what we recommend is that you set that plan end date for October 30th of the next school year. The reason we tell you that's a good idea is because the receiving school may not have enough time to put the accommodations in place for that first testing session, the first quarter testing session the following year. And so if that is the case, this child will have an active plan that school could use. So this is often very important for those rising third grade students who need accommodations on the beginning of grade, third grade test. But it's also a good practice for other grades. So we recommend that you set that plan date, end date, set the plan end date for October 30th of the following year. And then, of course, enter in the date that these accommodation or an accommodation notification was sent home to families. Okay, now down at the bottom, once you've got all those dates entered in, you would create a draft document. So if you click here, then that's going to bring you to this page. And now you can see I just clicked Create Draft Document, and if you scroll down, you can see all the documents created for that child. Your name is going to be here. You can see the document, the L plan, and I click Create Draft Document, so I have a draft here. And that draft is going to be located in your download folder. So if you go up to the top on the address bar, to the right hand side of the address bar at the top of your screen, you're going to see that little arrow and line. And if you notice that little arrow dancing around, that means that this draft document was loaded into your download folder. So you can click here to take a look at that document. So if I click here, it's going to bring up the PDF version of that document that will look something like this, depending on the student. It's going to have the student's name, the school, ID number, and so on, the child's information about the access assessment, what level of service the child has, and as you scroll down, you will see that child's L accommodations for English Language Arts and Math. Now you can see across the middle here it says proposed. That means, of course, that this is a draft document. So you can close this document, you can go back to this screen, and now that you've taken a look at the draft looks good, you're going to click Final Document, you're going to click Create Final Document, and then this will refresh, and you can see down here at the bottom now that draft has gone from the word draft to final. So you have finalized that child's L plan. And to see that final plan, which should look exactly like the draft document unless you made any changes, if you want to take a look at that, again, you would click here, you would go to your download folder, and you can look at that child's final L plan. But it's very important that you click Create Final Document to finalize that plan. If you do not click Create Final Document, the ROA, the Review of Accommodations, will not print. So let me repeat that. You just have to make sure that you click Create Final Document to finalize that plan so the Review of Accommodations document will print. This is one of the most common reasons why schools and English learner coordinators and ESL teachers cannot get that ROA to print. It's because they did not click Create Final Document. So just make sure that you click Create Final Document to conclude this process and print your ROA. So this concludes this short video. I really appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, please get in touch with me. My name is David Sisk, and have a good evening. Thank you.